Very good morning to everyone. As part of our learning journey about Python programming language, our next step is towards file object types. File object type is an object type exists in Python, which is used to store the files in the hard disk of the computer and to read the content from it. When you want to store something in computer hard disk, you have to follow a file system, because in between us and the hardware of the computer we have operating system right now. It can be Linux, Windows, Mac, like that. We have many, no? So among them one is there. So you cannot directly go and touch your hard disk directly without the permission of OS. Okay, now, first of all, why we need files? The files are used to store our data permanently in a memory, right now, so that we can retrieve the content from that memory and can use it later point of time. That is the primary purpose right now. So you store a data in one time in the hard disk of the computer or in a hardware of the computer, then you retrieve it back whenever you want, modify it and restore it like that. So it is a permanent storage. On the other hand, if we don't store the data and if we don't have a permanent memory, so as long as power is there, we can store the contents in our RAM. The moment the power is turned off, that data will disappear. Right now, that is how the electronic is designed. That is how the computers are working. So when that is our need to store something in a permanent memory, then we have to follow a file system in every computer. Right now, in modern computer, we have a OS, we have to do like that only. Right. That's why the file objects are coming into the picture. Right. When you want to store something in the hard disk, use file system. So that you can store them in a hard disk of the computer. Right. So for example, I want to store the vehicle speed sample that we create using different method, no, using random function and then signed functions. We have generated vehicle speed sample, right, that we did in the past. If I want to store that in a file, then I have to follow the file system. Okay, what is the keyword to create a file in the hard disk of the computer in Python, right? So this file system functions exist in every programming language. It is there in C. It is there in C#. It is there in C Capel. So every programming language has that feature, because it is very important to store some data in the permanent memory right now. So in case of Python, we have to follow the following syntax we have. Right, this is the syntax. You should have a file pointer, and then there is no special indication about pointers in Python. You just use a variable, that's all. That will become a file pointer. Right, then you use a function open. Then you give a file name that you want to create in the hard disk, because every file should have a tag in the memory, then only we can retrieve it. Now that's why we give a file name. Then we have to give a file name. After that, we should also specify in which mode you are going to open that file. Probably when you want to write something in the hard disk of the computer, use W, right? so that I have given an example here, like f is the file pointer is equal to open is the library function to open a file, data.txt is the file name, then w within a quote is called as mode. So I want to write something to that data.txt. That's why I do that one. After that, I have some problem statement that we can try to understand how the file object type is working in Python, or otherwise how file object type is used to create files in Python. Right. So to create same sample input file for vehicle input, which create samples of 100 vehicle speed inputs with a range 0 to 150, right? And the engine RPM input with the range 0 to 6000, right? We have two things in front of us. We have to generate random sample. We have to generate the random sample for vehicle speed as well as random sample for arbitrary sample for engine RPM as well. And then we have to store both of them in a file, right? That we have to do. And then we have a next problem statement, read input sample from the file and store them in a list, then print the list like that they are saying. So let me do that one by one. For that, let me bring Python now. Okay, team, we are in the working folder of Python programming directory. Right now, here only I have stored all my programs. Okay, in order to create a file, in order to create a Python module, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to call notepad and then file io.py, otherwise sample gen sample vehicle test input, gen vehicle test input dot py. So this is the module that we are going to create to write the program. Right, here it is a new file. Then now it is a time for creating that one. Let me read the problems. Create a sample input file for vehicle input, which creates otherwise which has the samples, create samples 100 vehicle speed input. Create sample input file for vehicle test inputs, which contains 100 vehicle speed sample within the range 0 to 150 and engine RPM with the range 0 to 36,000, right? So for vehicle test input, which contains 100 vehicle speed sample with the range 0 to 150 and engine RPM input with the range 0 to 6,000, right? So for that, First thing is we have to store that in a file, no? So in order to store something in a file, create sample input file for vehicle testing. First, we have to open a file. I use a file pointer. F is equal to open sample input dot csv. I call that as comma separated version file. In that, I open it in write mode. Right. Then f dot write. In that file, I am writing serial number /t, then number comma vehicle speed comma engine RPM. Right. So this is heading of that file. After that, I should create 100 samples. No, for that I have to run a rider. For rider in range 0 to 100. Right. So what I am going to do, I am going to generate random sample. For that, I should import a random module. Import random. Right. Random dot to random dot randint. Right. So we call that as zero to, I think it is 0 to 150. Right. Yes. So we are asking it to create a random number in between 0 to 150. This is the range. Randint is a function that will generate a number in between the specified range. Right. So that is one thing. Then the next one is, let us call this as vehicle speed. Then we are doing in the same thing, engine RPM is equal to random dot rand int 0 to 6000. Then we have to store that. No, in order to store that, f dot write, sorry, f dot write so %d percentage yes, sorry, percentage d, right? Then we have here, we have to specify rider +1, right? comma, vehicle. Okay, I believe we can create a string called record equal to rider plus one plus comma plus I think vehicle speed, then plus engine RPM. Finally, a new line character because we need that as a each one should go to the record. At last, I think I have to complete record I created. Then I write that record to the file. That's all. I will have 100 samples at the end. So then this is the first step, right? Let us run this part of the code and check. And check whether we are able to, it is successful in the first stage, right? Let me save this. And then I come back to command prompt. Here I call Python gen vehicle test input.py. Okay, I think they are saying some error. Inconsistent use of tabs and spaces in the indentation. Maybe I think I'm making some sort of mistakes here. Let me. Right, I believe I have done it correctly. Oh, sorry. Right. Okay, brilliant. So it was time to go. Types for plus. Okay, probably it is integer, no? But is accepting here, but type for plus vehicle speed is these two are okay, integer and str. Probably, I think either we have to convert them to string. I think we can go like that. So as right, I think the program is run. Let us check the file, whether we have any files here like sample inputs created by 410 right now, created at the time 410. Okay, let us open and see the file what we have in that one. For that, notepad sample inputs dot csv. I think it is a comma separate like this file only. No, it is a Excel file. So let us open that directly here. Right. Interesting. Hmm. Wait. File is empty. It looks very strange. I'm not sure. Let me open that in Notepad. Right. Maybe I think it should come in the next line. Serial number and then vehicle speed, then engine RPM. We have three samples. But problem here is why we are unable to open that in Excel file, that I'm not sure. Maybe probably here we don't have new line. That is why it is throwing error. Let me do that. It should not be the issue. Okay, we can do that one. We can open it in Excel, but I'm not sure why we are unable to. It's just a CSV file only. See here, we have a headers and then we have the data, right? Serial number, then vehicle speed and engine RPM. Now we have created, maybe I made a mistake here. Let me fix that one. Here we should have a new line. Now the file is ready. I have to read this file and have to print, use that in a program, or I have to print that one. How to do that? For that, we have first, we have to close this file because it is in write mode. Close. Right. Then now I am going to open the same file in read mode. Sample inputs.csv, comma, read mode. We can just use, we don't need to say any more. If we use like that, it is read. If then we should have the content of the file, right? So once str is equivalent to f dot read, right? Then let me print str so that I can see the data in the screen. So okay, probably I think I made a mistake. Yes. They are complaining such a file doesn't exist. Maybe I make some mistakes here. SAMPL sample inputs. So it's printed whatever that we have in that file. Now we printed that in the screen. Right. That's all. This is the simple introduction about how to use the files object in Python. Using that, we created a sample input file that we can use it when we have a risk bus simulation. In that, when we want to feed the vehicle speed and engine RPM with arbitrary value, we can use this one, right? Okay, team. I end today's session with this. Let me catch you with more detail in upcoming session. Thank you. Thank you for watching.